Hey guys, okay, so today is step 2 on our build. So I went ahead and I started putting my body panels on, and also I started cutting out the windows. I'll show you what I used to cut out the windows, and I also sanded down my round parts for my hood. What I did is I used one of these for cutting out my windows. It's just a spiral, it's a rotozip with a spiral bit on it. And what I did is I made my lines, and then I just turn it on and I just kind of cut it out real rough like. So one of these is pretty handy, but if not, you guys can have, if you have a knife or anything else, would be great. Here, so what I did is I cut out my template. I cut out for my door right here, and also my window. Okay. Then I traced it on my body like that, so I can get, so each panel is exactly the same. Then I transferred on to the next one like this, and then I just traced around it. And then again for my window I did the same thing, and then I cut out my window. So you can see how it's kind of rough right here. That's what I use. And then to finish it off, I just use a file. File works great, or I use one of my power file. And now this is how I did my curve too. So I just went along, curved it nicely, sanded it, and there you go. You can also use your knife blade as a scraper. See, to get your final curvature that you want. A knife blade really works really well. So here I did my back panel. Okay, and then I cut out for my back window. So I always cut out a bigger hole in my back to allow for my window, so that when I put my back skin on, like that, you have a lipping on the inside, so you can put a piece of plexiglass, Lexan, or clear plastic, whatever you want, and it'll fit real nice, and you just have to fit it, and it'll fit perfectly. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this on. So again, get your glue out. Here, when you're putting on glue on your skin, you gotta put it all over the place. Otherwise, it will lift up on you later on, and then it's a real pain to get it back down. So the best way is line it all up, pre-cut it first, just like that. Let it set for a few seconds. Always leave a little bit on the edges, because that you can trim that off. Alrighty, and then here I did my center for my hood. If you guys take a look at the Jeep, it has kind of a raised center, and I used a piece of 100. And what I did is I feathered it down to very thin, and then I just gave it a kind of a sharp line. So again, you can use one of these tools, go along and just fold it over, and work your way down. Or, like I said, a sharp corner of a table, just give it a bit of a pressure, and there you go. You got a nice clean line, so that fits here. And also I did my fender, and I put my skins on. So now we're going to put the skin on the hood. With this one, what I did is I pre bent it so that it fits real nice on your hood, and you won't have too much problems gluing it down. So just keep on working it, and then it'll be pretty flexible. So here I drew a line where I want to start my hood line, just like that. Okay, so what you do is just put a little bit of glue. First of all, just put a little bit of glue on that glue on the edge, just like that. Then you line it up, so. Takes a little time to line up perfectly. And then what you do is you just let it sit for a few minutes until it sets. So I'll put a bit of accelerant on it. Now, when you guys use this stuff on the real thin pieces, if you put a lot on, it will actually crack. It will actually melt and crack the your thin skin, which I'm using is about 30, 0.30. And once that's done, you kind of just fold it over like this. And you might have to do a bit of trimming on it, depending on how close you got it. So here, I'm just going to do a bit of trimming. I know you guys can't see it, but take your knife, line it up. There you go. Got a little piece there. And that acts like your roof line also, or your hood line. So once all that is done, so you continue, then you put the glue on the rest of the parts. Make sure you coat it all. Like this. Make sure it's all over the place. And you kind of just work it. Massage it over. Take out the excess and you'll have lots of glue on your hands. Just like this. And again, I just used a little bit of an accelerant just to solidify the seams or the ends. And there you go. You got one hood panel already on. I don't know if you guys can see that. Alrighty. And then you take your centerpiece, and I cut it a little bigger, and then you just kind of fit it. And you might have to do a bit of fitting. Remember, this is not a kit, so there's a lot of fitting and trial and all that type of good stuff. So again, just take my pencil, take off the excess. Line up, cut it, and you peel the rest of it away. The best way is sometimes don't put too much glue on the ends, because if you have to trim it like this, so you won't have to do a lot of trimming and cutting the glue. Again, scrape that. Makes a nice, so it's nice and even, because if you got a bump there and when you glue it on, it won't glue down. So you just have it like that. So then you put a bit of glue. All around. Make sure that this piece right here is underneath. There's nothing under it that's going to make it bump up, because again, it won't sit properly. So there you go. Just like that. And again, I left a little bit extra here too. I leave a little bit extra because once you're done this, you put a bit of glue. I always put a bit of glue on my seams, right where there's an edge. It acts like a good filler also. You put a bit of accelerant, and then whenever you're ready to shape, it shapes like a piece of plastic. And again here, put some glue, like I said, this glue acts like a good filler also. I'd rather use the glue than actual filler. Put a bit of accelerant, and you can build it up. You put layer on layer or whatever you want until it comes out so that it's nice and flush. So I did that. Alrighty. So my next move is to put my side panels on. So I already cut them out. There's my template. So I cut it all out, just like this. Alrighty. And then also I removed where this roof, where my hood line is going to be. So that's this part right here. So when you put it on, it lines up just like this, and then you're ready to glue it on. So on the side you might have to trim off a little bit so that when you overlap, so this is nice and flush. Then again, you take your glue, glue it all. You can do this in 2 steps if you want. Make sure you get it on the edges and around the seams. And then after that, you line it all up. I line it up like this so I'm able to see. There we go. And you just press down on it. You clean off where your door panel is going to be because otherwise it's not going to fit properly. It's a kind of a sticky situation here, guys. And then I just use a bit of accelerant, not too much, all around my seams, the edges, just like that. And then you can peel this back because I put glue on both on just the one section. So I just peel this back a bit, make sure there's a whole bunch of glue. I just blow it in, make sure it gets in there, and I just press down. And there you go, you have one skin. And then I just take a file, and of course you're going to have a bit of a rough. You just take it, file it around like that, and you got a nice flush. And then here I have a scraper I bought at the hobby house at one of the local stores in Ottawa. It looks like a toothpick or something, but it's just a dental piece of equipment. And then you just go along your seams and you clean out the excess glue, so that it shows your body line, just like that. And then you keep on doing that as you sand. I just keep on. So if I file, I'll just clean it out so it looks nice, and also so no debris gets in there. And then when you start painting, you won't see your body line. Alrighty, we can finish that later on. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert my door panel. So I've already pre-cut it. I actually cut it out of this piece, so you know it's going to fit exactly. And what I usually do is, just because it's a little bit tight, you just go around and file the edges, just so that it fits in and you have a bit of a gap, so you can run your scriber around. You see how that fits in there? So again, put some glue. All around. And then you line it up. It's in there. Perfect. I just run a bit of glue, a bit of accelerant around the edges. Make sure it's all glued in nicely. Dry it out. And then I just take my scraper and I just go around one time just to make sure I get all the glue out from around. And then of course I left it a little big so that you can go back in here, trim it with your Hobby knife. A lot of times I'll just go like this, I'll bring it down and I'll just score it along the line. Just like that. And then later on I'll finish trimming all this. I'll make it all, I'll make it come up to the line. And then I cut out my front windshield panel. Again, I went really big. You go as far as you can for your windshield, and then you're going to put your skin on it, and then you'll glue it in just like this. And then after that, you could fit it all, you can trim it all after what you want. There we go. Accelerant. So here I have a bit of a lip. So I'll just fill it with some glue. Like I said, this glue is great. It acts like a filler and an adhesive. Put a bit of accelerant. Doesn't look the nicest, but you'll be trimming it off later on with a file. You just go around like this, and see, I can't even catch my fingernail on it. And then after that, you can trim your windshield. You can make it a little bit smaller by just using a file. Again, your finger gauge, you go like that, and then you can just cut it out as you want, depending on how big of a windshield. And then in the inside, I don't know if you guys can see that, but in the inside, there's a lip so that you can put your piece of Lexan, whatever you want in there. And then after that, you just go around trimming all of your excess, the back, whatever's hanging over, just trim it with your knife. And then, again, I put a bit of glue all around the edges. So that way when I start sanding, it makes a strong joint also. Don't worry about the glue, just wipe it off, and then you'll sand it off later. And then I started cutting out my headlights. So these are just the light bar that I get from Tamiya, and I just cut them off, and then they're good for. I always put them in my lights. I always like to have chrome inside my lights. So here I glued one in. This one I took out. I'll show you guys. So the best way is I used a 20 gauge, and again I just massaged it until I can flex it just like this. What you do is you take your light, you wrap it around, And then wherever it meets, then just cut it. Like that. Okay. Then to cut out my holes, I use this. I use a step drill. Step drill bit. I line up wherever I wanted my hole, and I went right to the end. I believe it's like 3/4 of an inch. They're real handy to do or to have, and also you can drill multiple size holes with them. So here, what you do is you flex this over, and then you put it inside your drilled out hole. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to do this so I can see and you guys can see it too at the same time. Okay, you put it in like that. Okay, then you put your light in. Then you just push it in as far as you want to go. Just like that. And then give it a kind of an angle so that you line up with the other light. And then you can leave this out a bit and then you can just trim it out later. So what I did is I put my light in there, lined it all up, and I glue from the inside. Put quite a bit of glue, and then it'll just kind of wrap around it. Just blow on it a little bit. Put a bit of accelerant. And then see on the inside, right there, that's your leftovers, and then you could just trim it with a knife. And then you put your light in there, just like that. And there's your light. And again, you could trim this with a file or a knife or whatever you have handy. And then here where the joint is, I just put a bit of glue on it. Kind of massage it. And again, put a little bit of accelerant. And then I just kind of take a file or a knife and get in there. You can put this joint anywhere you want. I put it at the top because it's the smallest area. Because once I trim this will all be pretty much invisible. And then here I had a piece of tubing. It's just a tubing you buy at your hobby shop. You can get different diameters. And that's what I just used for the smaller one. And then my fender. Again, my fender, what I did is this is 100 thickness. So again, you massage it with your hand. Get the flex, get the rigidness out of it, so it's flexible, just like this. Not too hard because you will snap it. Okay, so this, what I did is I made a cardboard template. So if you take a look, when you guys flex it like that, when it's arched, this should be square. You see? And it has certain of an angle, because if you take a look at the Jeep, these fenders they come out on an angle on both sides. So what I did is I just took a piece of cardboard, okay, put it inside my fender like that. Then I just traced around the outside like that. And that gives you kind of an arch, right? So when you fold it, when you bend it, it becomes straight, just like this. I always leave a lot over because you can always trim this later on. I left about 3/4 of an inch, so my total wheel distance will probably be about 8.5 inches, just enough to have my axial, or not my axial, but my RC 4-wheel drive Yoda axles fit with the tires and everything else. So I'm going to go ahead and put this in. So of course I made a line where I wanted to start right here to match this one. So here is going to be a 2-step also. Just put a bit of glue on it. Go to your line. And and then feel on the inside. Take some of your accelerant. Alrighty. Just, you kind of have to have a few hands here. And then what I just do is I just put a bit of glue. It's looking apart. Yeah, it's kind of awkward. Just like that, you let it set. And you just work it kind of down. You can put some glue on the inside also. If you put glue on the inside, it's probably better because then you won't have to scrape off or sand off the glue. Put a bit of accelerant. Try not to get your finger stuck. And there you go. And then here, for the, see, it's kind of, it's not the square. So I just use, you can just use anything that's kind of like a half an inch or an inch. I'll just show you real quick, like this will just give you an idea. Put it against your fender, and then you just draw a line. And then that should be your line that you want to cut to. And just make sure everything is nice and equal. If you have any extra, just flex. You just kind of put a bit of glue in there. It's not exact science, unfortunately. There we go. So both sides are kind of on the same angle. So that's how I did my CAD. And at the back here, again, there's some more trimming to do. And you just take your file. And then after that, you're going to take your sander or your file and you'll round over these corners. Alrighty, so that's that. Now I also started on the back. Cut up my template, and I've already made one back. You see, this is on one side. So what I did is I cut it all out. This is your main back part. Okay. Here I had cut. I had left. There was a bit more, but I just cut that. I cut about 5/8 of an inch off, so my wheelbase would be a little shorter. So if you guys want to, just cut it off, or if not, leave it the way it is. And then here I made my body panel. If you take a look at the Jeep, it has kind of a raised body panel that goes over top, just like this. I don't know if you guys can see that. So again, here, what I'll do is, I cut out my wheel wells, and I do my finger line so that it all lines up exactly where I want it to go, just like this. And again, I glue it. Alrighty, so there you go. You got one side that's glued. Okay, and then of course you got to put your top on your box, which is this piece right here. And again, I pre-cut mine. Okay, the best way is, because these two line up right here like that, The best way is to light down on the face, put a bit of glue on your top, like that, lie it on his face, and then just put this piece in, leave some at the back, just like that. You don't have to put a lot of accelerant, just enough. Makes it stick. So there you go. Alrighty. Now this is what I do on the inside. I don't know if you guys want to do the same thing. But see, I have grooves here. Okay? So that this is my bottom. This is the box bottom. And it fits inside the groove. Just like that. So what I did is I cut some extra pieces. They're about ½ an inch. And what you do is you put it on the inside of your box. Just like this. So again, you glue it. Now don't forget, at the on this part right here, you want to leave about the thickness of the material away. So glue it like that, and then you glue your bottom on also. Again, I'll use just a piece of my bottom just so I can make sure that it fits properly. Just like that, and so that it slides into the groove. And then later on, you'll just cut this part right out, like I did here. Alright. Then I have my top piece. There's a top piece right here where I'm just going to put it right underneath. I'll show you why later on. There's another piece. Just like this. There we go. So that is this piece right here. I'll show you why later on. And then of course I did my front of the box. Alrighty, it already has the grooves. I pre-did it, so that when you put it all together, remember what I had said, leave the thickness of material, because don't forget you have material right here also. So when you fit it all together, it doesn't butt up against each other like this. See that? Okay. So now we're going to glue the box together, and you do this times 2, by the way. Glue this together. Yes, here. In this case, I'll use my drawer or my box bottom to square everything up. Accelerant. There we go. Make sure you don't glue it all in. All right. Make sure that this also fits. Like that. And of course I pre-cut my wheel wells out of the bottom of the box, so it matches. Take a look. See, it kind of matches. Alrighty. Oops. That's why. glue at the wrong spot. Make sure you glue at the right spot. There you go, that's better. Put this in as your template like that. You could put some extra glue in here because you won't see that. There we go. Just like that. Sorry guys. And then do the same on the other side. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this piece out. Good thing about styrene is that you can just give it a couple of cuts and then you could probably just snap it out. This is a little harder, so I'll do this one later on. I don't have time right now to show you guys, unfortunately. So again, I put my other side on. I lined it all up. This. Put some glue. Try not to put any glue right where your bottom is going to fit in, because otherwise you'll glue it in, and then it might be a tough time getting it out. Just like this. Like I said, you might have a tough time getting it out. There we go. Alrighty, just like that. And then you buy this this thicker stuff. I get it again at the hobby house. It's 1/4 inch thick, and you can get a different width. I think the widest you can get is like 3/4 of an inch, and I use that. It's pretty rigid. And then again, I'll just glue this in the back right here. I'll line it up. That. Again, I'll put some more glue on the joints because you won't see it. Alrighty, so there's your box, and then you just slide your front down. I'll just reglue this part. I didn't put enough glue on it. There we go. And then there's your box. And then you continue this by putting your top rail on for your front. So you just kind of mark it. Cut it. The thing about this, it just snaps real easily. Fit it. like this. Put some glue, and there you go. We got one box made. A little bit of a gap here, so I just use my glue as a filler. Alrighty, so next step is I put an inner fender to hide all of this stuff right here. You know, so you don't want to see it. So I went ahead and made it, and it just fits inside, just like this. Which one is it? I believe it's this one. So you might have to do a bit of trimming to get it all lined up properly. Like this. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then you take your pencil and you mark out right where you're going to cut it. And again, you just trim it, snap it, and there you go. So I don't know if you guys can see inside. So it's all nice instead of having this exposed, and then you can just take it out. And then of course I made my inner fender wells. So I just took a piece, I think this is 60, and again you just fold it over real nice, get it all, and then you make a template of the same arch, right? And then you just glue it on. You put it here. I don't have this piece, must be upstairs, and I can show you on the next episode. And then what I do is I'll just put my fender in like this. I put a bit of glue on it. I line it up right where it's supposed to go on the inside. Just like that. Take it out. And there you go. So that's the inside of my fender, inside the box. So I just, after all this, I put a bit of accelerant. There's a bit of glue on here, so it dried up before I put it back in. I like doing this so that when it comes to painting, I can take all this stuff out and just paint it black or whatever color I want. I don't have to mask everything off. So see how this all fits in like this? All fits in real nice. And then you'll do that on the other side. You'll do it. You'll make your fenders. Again, you just fold it over like this. If you have something round, it's even better. And then, like I said, you just take a piece of styrene and you just make a template the same diameter as your fender, or maybe a little bit bigger, and you just trace it, cut around it, and just bend it around. And that's basically, like I said, I'll show that to you guys on the next build. But there you go. There's your box. Pretty simple. And then also I'll be making a tailgate for it, and I'll show you how to make that. So when everything comes apart, okay, this one I glued it, but you just take your knife and you just kind of score it there, make sure. And this is removable. So far that's my truck. So again, if you have any questions, I know I went a little fast, but if you have any questions, just email me on the forums or through YouTube, and I'll try to answer your question as best I can. And then probably next week sometime I'll do the fenders for the box. I'll do the tailgate, and I'll make the other side. And then here, if you want, I always put a piece of styrene strips to make it look like the bottom. But again, I'll show you that on my next episode. And stay tuned. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care now. Bye.